Nigeria's transition to democracy in 1999 has redefined the country in many more ways than one. And one of such is the fact that since 1999, the country has, on a four-yearly basis, conducted a general round of elections, the last one being 2023 and one just up ahead in 2027. However, concerns abound as to how it has become a culture of some kind that following every election cycle, the country sees a litany of litigations, which has now made it more like a standard practice that politicians will end up in court following every election. INEC has said this is overwhelming and very disturbing. The political class may be a bit nonchalant about these developments, but for Nigerians, this is becoming too costly and overwhelming all at the same time. How do we move past this situation and, as it were, evolve a practice where with every election, the declaration by INEC will bring closure? That's the focus this week on Scale of Justice here on Global Television. I am Uyi Agmofwegbe. I am always delighted to have you join me here on the program. Incidentally, my guest is a lawyer, someone who has seen his own fair share of public office and administration, and of course understands what exactly these challenges are, their implications, and may be able to recommend a thing or two that this country could do to move things from point A to point B. It's a pleasure to have join us today Barrister Sunday Wugira from Yola in Adamawa State. Thank you so very much, Barrister Wugira, for taking out the time to join us today.
Thank you very much. I'm most grateful.
So let's start first of all with this, if you like, intervention. Some people say it's interference that we always find with every election, whether it is general election or off-cycle election. At what point did that link get broken?
Well, you see, everything that we see now playing out in the judiciary, in the political space, product of who we are. It has a lot to do with our character, with our attitude, with our human mindset, and our mental being. So, in the political space, selfish, and we have people there in the political space who are only instruments being used by other people, biblical, the voice of Jacob and the voice of Esau. And we have people who are not ready to shift. They have this attitude of miracle God. They are ready to destroy whoever that stands on the way. They put no tolerance for any action. And they feel once I have power, exercised by me alone. With such characters in the political process, definitely you will find out that the court will be saturated. Unfortunately, again, we have judges who are not, they are ready to play in the gallery, they are ready to be used by politicians or whatever reason. So that is our lot, unfortunately. Some of the problems that you see or you witness, they are correct, But the unfortunate thing is that we have a guiding principle. I don't know what is becoming of that. For a counsel to go to court, he is expected to depose to an affidavit, particularly in political matters, that there is no any pending matter anywhere. But you will find out that someone will come to put this today, and tomorrow he will go to another court, another injunction. as such be refused. And no punishment, no action is taken against us. Some of these cases are clearly mischievous with the aim of prohibiting whatever, you know, because there is no point for a lawyer or litigant who and file against an event that has been known to have been slated for maybe tomorrow since the past 4 months. You find it convenient to come to court today to stop uh, a convention or a process that will take place tomorrow, having invested so much money and resources. People are there risking themselves, leaving their comfort zones and going to these convention venues or wherever. And the courts are not looking at it. And all of these things will have consequences. And that is why we are confused, every one of us today.
uh, Public sentiment. Most times there's so much of blur between public sentiment and the position of the law. For example, you just mentioned now, a political party has maybe a convention or congress or whatever it is, or even primaries tomorrow, and court says today, barely 24 hours to the event, that the political party has been ordered not to move ahead or go forward with such a schedule. Are we supposed to say on humanitarian grounds the court should have allowed such events to go forward, or are we supposed to stick clearly with the dictates of the law?
Well, you see, sentiment will always be there. You can't take away sentiment. So long as there is a man, there will always be sentiment. And it varies. Two people to have their sentiments, if they decide to put aside their sentiments and come together, fine. If they choose to go by their sentiments, fine. But there is a rallying point. And the rallying point and the final decider is the law. What does the law state? What is the position of the law? And that is why the court is there to interpret. You may have your different sentiments, but the law is one. Its position is one. It is always constant. So, with regards to going to court on the eve of events, I know that there are justifiable reasons for that, but most often the reasons are not justified. We are human beings. As a lawyer, some people will just come with their things. All they will tell you is, we are willing to pay whatever. All we want is that this thing should not hold. Go to whatever length, whatever extent. And they have the war chest. All they need is for you to ensure that there is an order. And nowadays, you even find orders from magistrate courts, from area courts, restraining parties, including INEC, that such courts have no jurisdiction over, from observing, participating, conducting. You can imagine all these things. And nobody is punished for this. And these things are not just being done for free.
The Nigerian courts, Barrister Wugira, have long established that issues, wrangling amongst political parties are internal to them. In other words, political parties on their part have a responsibility to set up mechanisms to resolve whatever differences they may have. But then, ironically, we still see the courts from time to time intervening in these matters. Do you think the judiciary in this country is overstepping itself?
Well, to an extent, but yes, to an extent, and no, at the same time, to an extent. When you look at the justice of some matters, you know that, yes, the judiciary is right on course. But if you look at the frivolities of some matters, you know that The judiciary is just making a caricature of itself that we need to sit up, we need to harmonize, and we need to ensure that we give ourselves respect, we give the judiciary respect. Most often, the judiciary on its own, they are just there. But the problem is mostly that of lawyers, because if you don't approach the court, the court will never approach you. So, and who is the minister that does the incantation, or the priests that does the incantation? It is the lawyers. So we need to address ourselves on the need for us to purge ourselves of all the inanities that is making us go and belittle the judiciary, make the judiciary a caricature of itself, and then at the end of the day, when the judiciary loses face, you know that as a lawyer, your own is finished. So it is incumbent on us to give the judiciary a direction, to help the judiciary recover its integrity, its respect, and that regard that it ought to have been given by us as practitioners, as ministers in that temple. So yes, the judiciary has its own problems. It has its own weaknesses. It has its own limitations, but largely it is lawyers that are creating all the problems. The Hausas have this rich proverb that "'ya'yan kuka suke jawa uwarta jifa," that the fruits of baobab tree are the ones that are causing other children or passers-by to be stoning the baobab tree for the fact that they need the fruit. So we need to wake up. Lawyers, most at times, we don't blame ourselves for the rot in the judiciary. But believe you me, it is our challenge. It is our problem. We must address ourselves.
You've as it were, cut off a chunk of the blame for yourself and your colleagues. But again, following these shenanigans that we have seen in our polity lately, the Nigerian Bar Association, an entity of which you are a member, has now warned lawyers across this country to say that, look, allow political parties deal with their problems. No lawyer going forward should file on behalf of politicians or their political parties. Do you think lawyers in this country are paying heed to that advice or directive, or is it just overall flying over their heads?
Well, until there's a sting, you can't stop this, because lawyers are not going to court for free. Most often when you handle a political matter, you can close shop for almost a year. In terms of litigation, that is. Election matters, they come with a heavy war chest that it takes the grace of God for a lawyer that is not well grounded to say no to politicians that want to engage him. It is not about integrity. It is about the state of the nation. If you don't take it, they will go somewhere and it will be taken. So long as no lawyer is penalized for going to court against the principles established, we will continue to have lawyers going to court. So long as there is no price to pay for heeding to a particular order, for ensuring that the rule of law prevails, lawyers will continue to take briefs from politicians that is against even our ethics, so long as there is no punishment, so long as someone is not derobed, someone is not awarded a heavy cost that will ensure that whatever he has received, because these politicians, when they discover that you're in trouble, they run away, they leave you to clear whatever situation you find yourself in. They will tell you that, after all, I have paid you. When they discover that you're no longer useful to them, you're also no longer they are also no longer useful to you. So they have this principle. They are always looking for soft targets. So the Nigerian Bar Association should not just stop at policy or issuing directives or orders. There must be punishments. And when you apply the stick, uh, and it becomes established that yes, there are consequences, certainly, certainly, everyone will have to look at himself first and before taking the next step, because you have to ask yourself, is this worth my integrity? Is this worth the punishment that I will have to incur? You know?
You see politicians putting in their best, in a manner of speaking, just to ensure that they get ahead of their competitors or their opponents going into 2027. How much of blame do we also apportion to politicians? Because it seems there's enough blame to go around. And then, of course, there are those who also peg some blame on INEC and then security agencies and what have you. How do we do an equitable or even spread of these blames, starting from politicians to INEC and, of course, other ancillary agencies that work on election days?
Gamble. And where you gamble, you discover that you
Well, it appears we're having some challenge there with our guest, Barrister Sunday Mugira, who has just been making a lot of salient points about the challenge you're dealing with regarding the frequent, if you like, intervention by the judiciary in our electoral process in Nigeria, and with the the 2017, 2027 election around the corner is another challenge. But we understand the guest has joined again. And now, Barrister Mugira, kindly just make your points. We are all ears.
Yeah, thank you. And sorry for the glitch. Politicians are naturally gamblers, and we're gambling. If you know how gambling is being conducted, the game of gambling is being conducted, you can cut corners so long as you are not caught. You can circumvent the rules so long as it favors you. That is it. That is how politicians operate. And it's most unfortunate that you see someone with no iota of integrity, with no respect for any rule whatsoever, so long as it is not his own, coming to seek for whatever position. And unfortunately, reprehensibly too, he's been aided and supported by a minister in the Temple of Justice who is saddled with the responsibility of upholding the truth, standing by the truth, and ensuring that the truth is defended at all times, even if it is against his own interest. This is very sad. This is not a very good commentary on a particular people that are supposedly ministers that are supposed to uphold justice, the rule of law, ensure that, yes, there is credibility, there is transparency, there is integrity in the judicial process and the democratic process as well. So lawyers are not just ministers in the Temple of Justice. We are supposed to ensure that we sanitize the political process, because at the end of the day, we all end up being victims as well. You may have all the money in your pocket, you may not need any other thing, the economy may run down, because you do not expect somebody who has no respect for the rule of law to have respect for you people, to have respect for any whatever law that will ensure that he puts in place government that is for the people, because he has perfected ways and means to get his own way, irrespective of how he gets it, whether it is through a clean process, process that one will be proud of, a process that will lead to the development of the nation. So long as, even if he will mow down a community to get what he wants, and you find a lawyer supporting such people to rule or to represent. So these are the challenges that we have. I always say it that those in Nigeria must wake up in Nigeria. We must take our rightful place in the committee of patriots, where we will not take any brief that we know this person is not going to serve anybody but himself, even if he's going to give us the whole world. And it is also biblical that of what use is silver and gold, where you lose your soul eventually.
Ask you, I mean, you and I follow the news a great deal. Political parties, virtually all of them, are now emerged in one form of conflict or another. I mean, these are all internal problems that they are dealing with. Incidentally, these political parties, all of them, have not even conducted their primaries yet, which means there's so much to look forward to in terms of how they disagree and hopefully agree going forward. How much do you see all of these drama happening within political parties, shaping democracy, shaping the 2027 election, and who knows, the litigation that could also come therefrom? Because as it stands today, the appeal courts, the federal high courts, the Supreme Courts, I mean, they are inundated with cases, with matters. How complicated is the situation as we get closer to 2027?
The situation will always be complicated because people that are desperate. Desperation is what is making all these things. And I'm telling you, the 2027 election is going to be very, very tough and challenging for everyone. Every of the political parties, they will have their own challenges. One, because some people feel once I am being nominated, I have the nomination of my political party, I am going to win election. Whether the party in government or those in the opposition. So desperation will always be there. And many a times, most of these nominations, it has nothing to do with the people. It is just about some anointed few who will sit down and feel, okay, we are bringing on board our own, because come what may, he's going to be the one that will win this election. And it is simply because votes don't count to so many people, which is most unfortunate. Most unfortunate. That is the perception that a lot of people are having. If you look at how some people are conducting themselves, especially we call them here Abuja politicians, somebody will just sit down and think that once I have the ticket of my political party, I am home and dry. There will be surprises. Nigerians have tested both sides of the divide. And if Nigerians cannot get it right for themselves in 2027, I'm afraid nobody should bother about going out to contest election, so long as you are not being anointed. Nobody should also bother to go out and vote, because votes will not count. If Nigerians, despite our state of being, because the 2027 election, like the courts have been churning out orders, maintain the status quo antebellum, it is also going to be either to maintain the status quo or to change the status quo. So if you are comfortable with the process, you will want to maintain it. If you are not comfortable, you must change it. So that is the choice before Nigerians now. And it is going to be like a census, not just an election. It is going to be like a census. Are Nigerians really comfortable? Are they really not comfortable? So it is left for Nigerians to decide. And I call on Nigerians to ensure that you partake in this census, not just election, in this census, to demonstrate whether you are comfortable or you are not.
Look at one more thing before we're done here, Barrister Wugira. Incidentally, we now have the Electoral Act 2026, which evidently is a piece of legislation. It's a body of laws, even though it's if you like, ancillary law. But then, when you take a look at it as lawyer and someone who is very conversant with our politics in this country, what are your thoughts? What do you think, what are concerns you have, especially as we inch closer to 2027?
No law, but to my mind, the 2026 Electoral Act is an indication that the National Assembly or our legislative houses, we have failed ourselves by electing people who do not really understand our political realities to represent us. And the need to come up with laws that are in tune with our changing time, global best practices, and the need to forge ahead. So the 2026 Electoral Act leaves so much to be desired. I am not satisfied with it, but that is not the issue. As far as the law is concerned, that is the law in operation. My opinion will not change what is there, and my feelings will not count in whatsoever way. The deal has been done, and there is nothing anybody can do about it. But we need to also ask ourselves, do we really need to consolidate on this class of people as our representatives that will end up bringing laws at the nick of time? 2026, when we can sit down and address first things first, our political realities from the first legislative year, to ensure that credible laws are passed and everybody is made to be conversant with it. Political parties are made to be conversant with it, and ensure that no one is caught off guard, that parties can sit down and make their arrangements before time, unlike where you have an electoral act that is given timelines that political parties will find it very difficult or caught up by time, and there is nothing anybody can do. Somebody will just be laughing at you, you know. When we have laws that are meant to serve mundane purposes, you know that that nation can never make any meaningful progress or development politically or otherwise. And nobody will take us serious. Nobody. We are just being made a laughing stock in the Committee of Nations.
We will have to put this discussion to bed right now. But I would like to say a big thank you to Barrister Sunday Wugira for allowing us break through your tight schedule today to have this conversation with us. We appreciate you. Well, that's all for the program this week. Thank you so very much for watching. I'm grateful to my team who has made this possible. I'm Uyag Mofwegwe. I'll see you again.